Welcome, everybody, to podcast number 278. Are you tolerating bad behavior when you shouldn't? Stay with us.
This is the Elevate Construction Podcast, delivering remarkable content for workers, leaders, and companies in construction wanting to take their next step. Get ready to step out of your comfort zone with Jason Schroeder as he encourages you to do better, live a remarkable life, and expect more. Let's go.
Welcome, everybody. I hope you're doing well. Today's podcast topic is going to be about zero tolerance, and I want to cover just a couple of things. And this is I think this is the third show in the series about the integrated production control system. I was surprised to get really good feedback on this series being like really, really helpful. Turns out when I've done podcasts in the past, I do them in a disconnected way. This series is connecting all of the concepts that I teach constantly into one system, from the end to the front in reverse. And so I'll continue tonight by talking about zero tolerance. And I want to point our minds to the point that the integrated production control system presumes that the project team's first priority is to create respect and stability for the workers. Then from there, meaning the workers, can then continuously improve. A worker needs to know every day what he or she is building, how to install it, where to put it. They need the materials, they need the equipment, they need a clean and a safe and an organized environment, and they need that stability. They need that cleanliness, they need that safety. That's what we're doing. That's where we make money. Clearing the work for the workers in that kind of environment is where we make money. And so let's keep working backwards. So I talked to you about continuous education for the foreman so that they are the ones. Only when the foreman and the workers understand flow and concepts of lean will we ever start to make money. Where the foremen have standard work constantly, where they report their production targets and where they plan the next day with the site superintendent and make improvements to meet production the next day. And they talk about the in-betweens, and they are with their crews in standard work, and that we are grading contractors to provide the foreman with the environment where they can go continuously improve. And before that, we need an environment where we do not tolerate bad behavior. Now, I've talked a lot about zero tolerance, and I'm going to talk about it again tonight. This will be a shorter podcast. However, I'm not talking about like minefield zero tolerance. I'm not talking about, any of like the negative zero tolerance that you're talking about. I'm talking about respect. I'm talking about environments where we respect somebody enough to do the right thing. Zero tolerance is never about punishment. Let me say that again. Zero tolerance is never about punishment. Let's work this backwards. Let's actually go back a little bit through the accountability process. If we have an effective quality program, a daily issue correction system, a roadblock removal system, we do not tolerate bad behavior, meaning we implement zero tolerance, and we grade the performance of contractors on site, then foremen can follow standard work and continuously improve in their education program. So these are the steps, and zero tolerance is what we're going to talk about tonight. And I want to say one more time, zero tolerance is never about punishment. So we're going to get right into that podcast tonight. We're not going to take too long. I did want to say, if I sound a little bit tired, and I'm not whining, I'm just I feel like if I'm more transparent about my life and things like that, people will connect with me better. I preach a lot about balance. Right now, I am working a lot. And when people are like, Jason, you teach people to have a balance in life, but what about you? Don't work too much. Don't go against your own advice. Well, I can say that I always spend Fridays at the lake with the kids. I always do things for family on Saturdays. But when I'm working at church on Sundays, I'm grinding. And when I'm working during the week, I'm grinding. when I'm talking about having a balance, when I'm talking about being effective, when I'm talking about having a personal organization system, I'm not doing wasteful things. I've eliminated for the most part, wasteful things. And when I work, I'm grinding, but I'm building a business and scaling as much as I can. But I work a lot of hours. So let me just take you through that, why I'm so tired today, because I did overdo it today. And I need to overcome and correct those situations, right? So got up at 4:30 this morning, hopped on a call. No, I did my weigh-in for my personal fitness coach, got ready, got dressed in my church clothes, went out front, got onto a phone call, which is actually what I'm excited about right now is Takt training. I get on the call with Janosch and Marco every week with Spencer Easton, and they teach us about the German way of doing Takt planning, which is fantastic. They're taking our understanding to another level on a weekly basis. They're fantastic. We'll partner with them on tacting and the update of our book, Elevating Construction Takt Planning, and the scaling of that throughout the industry. So I'm up there with them 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock, I'm at a leadership meeting at church. 8 o'clock, come back, make breakfast, get the kids. 9:30, back at church, doing meetings. I've got an executive level leadership meeting and then an entire organizational leadership meeting and then church. And we actually meet with the youth in there, and then afterwards headed out, and I take my kids to a special program to prepare them for when they head on missions. That we get home, we do some study as a family, we do dinner, we head to the temple to go make sure that we're centering for the day, get back. I just got back, it's 8 o'clock, so we are now, and I've had a great day, some very beautiful spiritual experiences, but now I'm going to do the podcast and I'm going to get in bed because tomorrow we get up at 4. We get up at 3:45. I leave the house at 4, get to the training location for Super Boot Camp at 4:30. We start at 5 and we go from 5 to 9 p.m. It's going to be all out energy grind. We're going to pack in and over deliver value for these folks. Now, if they ask to go home earlier, then we'll adjust the schedule there and be respectful. But most of the time they ask to keep going and to get it going so that they kickstart their careers. So we might even go till 9, and then so we'll be back. Get in bed by 10 or 11, sleep, get up at 3:45, leave at 4, get there at 4:30, start at 5, and we'll do that a whole other day. That's what I'm talking about. I undersell and over deliver in these boot camps. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit more. So that's why I sound a little bit tired. So be patient with me over the next couple of days. I prepare for these things. I love these things. As the business scales, and we have a superintendent or field engineer boot camp going every other week. What we'll do is just like Tony Robbins does is we'll have enough trainers to take different segments to where I'll be there 75% of the day, but I'll be able to take more and more naps, be able to, have more of a balance and then really like reset. Katie was like, you never do stuff like that. Yeah, so you might as well on Wednesday after you're done with boot camp, go like get a massage and just like come home and go to bed. And I'm like, you're a sweet woman. So that's why sound a little bit tired. But the topic today is providential, meaning it came from heaven, because zero tolerance. If you as a PM or a super or a foreman or whatever you are in your role or anywhere in your organizations, for you to not tolerate bad behavior, it takes grit, it takes endurance, it takes courage. And what it takes to actually implement zero tolerance is what I'm going to have to go through tomorrow at boot camp. And I'm going to publish this at 5 a.m. in the morning so nobody that is coming to boot camp can hear me give this podcast. So as soon as you hear this podcast published tomorrow, I will already be in that room with the attendees. But here, I'm going to give you a little insight, and I hope they hear this afterwards. It is one of the scariest things on earth, in my mind, to know that you have experienced executives, vice presidents, general superintendents, experienced superintendents, foremen, assistant supers, trade partner vice presidents, all of these people flying from around the country into a boot camp. Okay, so stay with me here, all right? So I'm prepared. I've got everything ready, everything printed, all the videos, all the content, everything. I am ready. And I've got help. and I've got buses scheduled, and I've got catering, and I've got insurance. I've got everything for this event. Everything's dialed in. Okay. So what would I be worried about? I've done this over and over and over. I've done this at least 16 times. It doesn't sound like a lot, but these are huge, huge things. Huge. Actually, not 16 times. It's probably like 22 now if you count the ones that I've done this year. But anyway, so imagine this. You have people that are at such a high level in their experience, and now I get to, because of my calling in life, get them to get out of their comfort zone, to pretend like they just won $50 million, to actually move to music with me in an energetic way, to give an extemporaneous speech in an actual boot camp, to participate full out without any reservations. And it is one of the scariest things. So imagine you are going to go tomorrow at 5 a.m. And I don't want sympathy. I'm just telling you, like, this is a part of the podcast. You have to go take people, some of whom you've never met, older men in construction that are experienced, and make them, for a lack of a better word, move, which could be considered dancing. Have them, go into processes that make them wildly uncomfortable, at the risk of they could up and leave at any point before they get through that process and realize the value. And there you go. Now the whole experience is tanked. Okay. That is what I get to do with grown men and women, is pull them out of their comfort zones. And it is the scariest and one of the most daunting things. I would rather speak in front of 1 million people giving an impromptu speech and have my career depend on it than to do that. But I cherish it, but I'm nervous. Like I'm not nervous. I'm amped up. My adrenaline's going. And I'm doing it because it's what we have to do. If somebody will not do that in a boot camp, they won't go hold the line with zero tolerance. What it takes to actually send somebody to a safe place, stop the crew, stop the work, hold the line, be the most confident person in the face of 300 people on their project when everybody's clamoring for them to just be lenient and let it go. What it takes for you to stop and correct, not just remind it, but correct a situation when somebody doesn't have their fall protection on or their safety glasses, is the same thing that it takes for grown men to dance together. It's the same thing that it takes for grown men to give extemporaneous speeches. It is the same thing. You get it from the same part of your stomach as you do when you have to get up and pretend like you just won $50 million. That's what I'm talking about. We have to be all in, and we have to have enough range to give 100%. So I told you that about the boot camp tomorrow to kind of foreshadow. I want you to pray for me and wish me luck to get all these wonderful people through it. My point is this: you will not ever have an organization with superintendents that will implement zero tolerance until you have professional development training where you learn the interpersonal skills and how to give 100%. Emotion, passion, enthusiasm, present, communicate, and do the hard things of interpersonal skills. And so that's what I get to do tomorrow. And I am just like amped up. You could call it scared. You could call it freaked out. You could call it nervous. You could just call it, hey, I've got a tough mountain to climb tomorrow. That's what we're dealing with. We have to get our people to where they will act and so what I'm saying is, when I go in front of 12 men or women, it doesn't matter, 12 men, and they are experienced construction veterans. They might like country music. They might like rock and roll music. They might like whatever. They might have tattoos. They might not. I get to go push them to a point where they either break or they have to come out of their comfort zone. And you have to do the same thing if you're going to implement zero tolerance, and you have to put your people to the test and get them to a level where they can perform if you're going to do this. But if you do this, you will have remarkable results. And so that's what I'm excited about. I'm excited about the boot camp tomorrow, but I'm also amped up about it. And it's the exact same thing that it takes to do that, to implement zero tolerance. And so I appreciate you taking the time to listen to me on that. I know that took a minute. Let's talk about some feedback, then we'll get right into the podcast. Hey, you're on a roll this week. I'm really enjoying this series about the integrated production control system. It has my creative juices flowing. You mentioned grading subcontractors weekly. Would you take this down to another level and do this with employees? And I'm just going to pause here. I would grade everything. Here's one caveat. You cannot grade anybody for anything unless they have a stake in preparing for it and making the system successful. So yes, I would. The question formed when I thought about grading my trade partners who are single operators. Do you have your template? Sorry, I keep bugging you for all your templates for your contractors, and would you mind sharing it? Absolutely, I'll send that to you. I want to elevate our team and family, and I think this would be a great way to do that. One last question. Where do you think the line is between detailed tracking for production and over-processing of tracking that leads to waste? I think that any amount of identification of the in-betweens and the 8 wastes and the things that interrupt flow is worth the time to create flow. When it comes down to numbers and duplicate reports and over-processing, no, I don't encourage that at all. I'm talking about real data. Oh, here's what I would say. Anything that it takes for the foreman and the workers to understand what the real wastes are, how to create flow, and to get them to continuously improve on a daily basis is worth our time. So and I really appreciate you who gave me this feedback. So let's get right into the podcast. Here's the conflict. You're tolerating too much. I've told you over and over about the BSRL. I had my shoulders up the tallest, my chest puffed out though, and I'm not talking about command and control type stuff. I'm talking about the project management team decided that we were going to do the zero tolerance together. And so I held the line. When people wanted to whine and complain and say, oh, I don't know about this, and hey, so-and-so said that, I held strong. I had control of that side, and we implemented zero tolerance. And for cleanliness, I never had composite cleanup crew. If they made a mess, they cleaned it up. And some people will be like, well, that's hard. Well, it's hard if you're not confident. Okay? And I'm not making fun of you. I'm saying I'm helping you by saying, here's what it is. And if it came down to safety and it was in the orientation and it was in the OSHA 10 or OSHA 30 training and it was something that they knew to do, but it was negligence or they didn't have their head in the game or they have a bad attitude, I sent them home to safety. Now, nowadays, people will claim that workers are basically will be like, yeah, I want to go home. There's so much work, blah, blah, blah. I have more faith in people than that. I know that there are some that will say, hey, I'd rather just go home. But they weren't making production anyway, so losing them isn't going to be a big deal. I'm talking about the conscientious, wonderful workers. We are giving them an opportunity to be safe by saying, hey, go get the training, go home, take a break. Let me show you that this is important to you. Zero tolerance. I'm not tolerating bad behavior on my side. It is never about punishment. It is always about respect. If I allow somebody to continue in an unsafe manner, I do not respect them. And I want to be clear right now in front of God, angels, these witnesses, and the world. If you are walking past safety issues and not correcting it for fear that you would offend somebody, you do not respect those people. You are only protecting yourself. People that do not say the things that need to be said for fear of offending somebody are only thinking of themselves. And so I have to make that clear. So at BSRL, when somebody was unsafe, we sent them to a safe location. When deliveries came when they weren't scheduled and it wasn't okay because somebody was in the queue, we turned them back. And we had the most operational project site as I can ever remember experiencing or seeing in the construction industry. Ask people that were there. I'll give you contact information. It was fantastic. So implement zero tolerance. No team will have operational control if they tolerate bad behavior. The law of thirds suggests that 1/3 of the project will be bought in, another third will be undecided, and the remaining third will not be bought in. By incentivizing good behavior and having a positive culture on site, most will transition to being bought in. Others will not transition. For those that will not, there needs to be a pay-to-play minimum standard that will elevate behavior and performance and trigger the removal of others who will not conform. And we do this with cleanliness, organization, safety, and deliveries and just-in-time deliveries. And so let me ask you a question. And one of the things, I love the lean community. I love what people are saying. I love the concept that you can't implement lean. I love the stories of inviting people to learn lean. I love the books. I love the approach. But let me ask you a question. Do you think the Toyota Japanese car manufacturers put up with crap? Do you think Paul Akers and his facility puts up with a lot? If you just talk to them, you'll know that they're no BS kind of people. I talked to Paul Akers one time, and he was like, if you want to, and here, I interviewed this guy. I interviewed Paul Akers, and I got him to accept the interview, even though he gets asked like 20 or 30 times a day to do an interview. And he got to a point one time where he was like, Jason, you're either going to get your act together, getting this going, or I'm not going to do this interview with you. I want all the information. I want it right now. And I had to change quickly. He didn't put up with any crap from me. He didn't put up with any crap from anybody else, from his vendors. He doesn't put up with any crap from his own people. He told me in that interview, if you're going to work with me, I pretty much require that you read the book, Getting Things Done by David Allen, and that you implement that system. Do you think any of his people have a choice on whether or not they continuously improve every day? Do you think the people in Japan, those workers, do you think they really have a choice on whether or not they're going to fit into that culture? There's a certain amount of coercion here, everybody. They do not tolerate bad behavior. The Japanese don't tolerate bad behavior. Toyota manufacturing doesn't put up with bad behavior. Paul Akers doesn't put up with bad behavior. Any of these people that we point to as having great cultures, great companies, great implementation, I mean, do you think they put up with bad behavior? The answer is no. No lean company that has their act together puts up with bad behavior. They implement zero tolerance. They don't do it. They invite people to work somewhere else. Like Jim Collins said, they get the right people on the bus and the wrong people off. So let me ask you a question. When we go out and we assume that everything's kittens and butterflies and rainbows, and we're like, yeah, if you just magically speak the word lean, everybody will just follow along and it becomes magic. I've never heard a bigger bunch of beep in my entire life. I wish I had a real beep button because that sounds weird. Anyway, never heard as much garbage in my life. That's stupid. It's never going to happen. So we got to get this through our heads. It needs to be 6 weeks of sheer dictatorship on a project site with lean until your trade partners will start to buy in. Once they actually see you implement and enforce it, and then you're like, all right, now you've had 6 weeks of experiencing this. Now you've had 6 weeks of cleanliness. Now you've had 6 weeks of organization. Now you've had 6 weeks of safety. Now you've had 6 weeks of just-in-time deliveries. Now you tell me what's better. Do you want to go back to the old system, or do you want to go back to or do you want to stay with this? You have the choice now. You didn't before, now you do. Because we decided as a team we're going to do this. But now we're deciding as a team to give you the option. Now you have the green pill or the blue pill, and now you have the red pill. You have the green pill and the red pill. You can choose whatever you want, just like in the Matrix. They will always choose to do it the lean way. But they can't even know what to decide or do until they've seen it. And they won't do it until you enforce it. And it can't be enforced without zero tolerance. The success of any organization is determined by the worst behavior the leader is willing to tolerate. And so we have to get some courage here, people, and get going. I'm kind of annoyed a little bit about this fluffy butterflies and kittens. Hey, if we just speak the word lean, it'll scale. Does anybody else see us as a construction industry going very fast with this? We're not. We need to stop being candy butts out there. We need to get going. Let's get this going. I'm not talking about command and control. I'm not talking about yelling at people. I'm talking about a group of people saying, instead of saying, I can't expect people to prefabricate everything. Why not? Put your shoulders back, puff your chest out, decide with the team, and be like, this is what we're doing. Let's go. You have to have some courage. You gotta Toyota or Paul Akers this thing and get it done. And so what I'm saying when I say implement zero tolerance, you find a way to make it to where only bought-in people thrive, and to where people that are not bought in cannot survive on your project, that they cannot work there. They will not. The culture will reject them. That is zero tolerance. Do we do it out of punishment? No. Heck no. Do we do it out of respect? Yes. Respect equals high expectations. And if you're listening to this podcast or you're somebody who says Jason's out of it, you can't do that. You just got to let people be people. Then you do not respect people. The foundation for lean, whether you're talking about it in Japanese culture, Toyota, lean throughout the United States, wherever, all of it comes down to the basis of respect for people and resources. And so if you are being a wimpy leader and playing savior with people and not correcting these situations and expecting things from human beings, then you are the problem and you do not respect people and you will never be lean. Let me say that again. You will never, ever, ever, ever be lean until you expect great things. And that doesn't mean just out of nowhere. That means you train them. That means you orient people. That means you give them every opportunity. That means you give them a second chance. That means you coach them. That means you mentor them. But you do not put up with deviations to the standards that we're talking about. In fact, I will say that telling somebody that, oh, I understand, hey, you're not wearing your safety glasses, put them on, I'll walk away and I won't fix the situation, is classist, it's racist, it's sexist, it's disgusting, it's prejudiced, it's discriminatory, because, like I've said before, you think that person is too stupid to do the right thing. That's it. That's the fundamental belief that you have. But I believe whether somebody's black or white, bond or free, male or female, any protected class, wherever they came from, we may not have the same opportunities. If you, as a white male, I've said this before, I have opportunities that other people don't have just by sheer accident. I didn't earn this. I didn't choose, or I didn't earn being born, and being white doesn't make me better. I'm just saying, in the United States, like, people don't treat me the same way they treat a black male. Like, I'm sorry. Like, if you think I'm being a social justice warrior, you can be mad at me all you want. But like, we white folks will, and I'm not getting all racist on you. I'm just saying, or like, I'm not getting all political, but I will never know what it's like to be a black male in the United States, or a black female, or a female. I will never know what it's like to be a veteran. I will never know what it's like to be a homosexual in the United States. I will never know what those things feel like. I have different opportunities. So you watch those YouTube videos where somebody says, if you were born with both parents, take 2 steps forward. If not, take 1 step back. If you were born with a family that had an average income of above $80,000 a year, take 2 steps forward. If you didn't, take 2 steps back. And you start to look at all the people in the line, and you start to see that you've got a bunch of white males way up in the front, and you've got a lot of people in protected classes, people that are just as smart, could do just as much with the same opportunities way back in the line, and you realize that you don't have the same circumstances. That has to stop. We have to stop doing this, right? So I have different opportunities than if I was born or if I came to this country not speaking this language and not having English be my native language. So what do we do about it? We stop the pattern of discrimination. The pattern of discrimination is, there's 2 types of discrimination. Number one, it's let's not give people opportunities based on their race or religion or their sexuality or their sex or their military status or anything else like that. Racism comes in the form of you're not giving somebody the opportunity, right? The other type of racism is where there are now opportunities, but now you don't help elevate them. You don't expect high things. You don't train and coach. You don't talk to them the same way because you're playing savior and you're thinking in your mind, well, you're incapable, you're unable, you're not smart enough. That's the second kind of racism or discrimination. That's disgusting. That's just as disgusting as the first one. Here's the deal. And I want to be clear about this to everybody out there. If you treat a woman or a minority or somebody in the military or somebody of a different sexual orientation differently, I'm not talking about them asking to be treated differently. That's fine. But if you decide yourself to be more lenient or treat somebody differently, or to not treat somebody the same way as you would anyone else, either in the positive or the negative, then that is discrimination, and it's illegal. Meaning, if I said, okay, if that was a white male, I would say, hey, you need to do better. Or, hey, this is our company policy, you can't violate. If I say, she's a woman, I'm not going to say that to her. That's discrimination. That's illegal. We're not allowed to do that. So all of you people out there that are saying to yourself, okay, there's a worker. They might not be native speaking. They might not have English as their main language. Or maybe they do have English as their main language, but they didn't go to college. Or whatever silly story we're telling ourselves. If we're like, I would expect more from you, but you're too stupid. Like, think about how disgusting and classist and racist and sexist and stupid that is. Everybody on a Jason Schroeder job site can follow the rules. Black, white, bond-free, male, female, military status, non-military status, heterosexual, anybody, any class, any kind of diversity, they can follow the rules. All of us can follow the rules. All of us can put our safety glasses on. All of us can stage materials in the right location. All of us can get deliveries here at the right time. All of us can have clean areas. All of us can stay organized. And so I expect that because I see us as equals. I expect that because even though we weren't born with the same opportunities by sheer accident, and it's disappointing that that's the case, even though we weren't born with the same opportunities, today we have the same opportunity to be clean. Today we have the same opportunity to be safe. Today we have the same opportunity to be organized. Today we have the same opportunity to receive deliveries the right way. And today is the day to stop discriminating and treating people differently. Today is the day for us to start treating people as human beings and as equals. And that's what I'm asking you. If you expect yourself to put safety glasses on, and you wouldn't expect yourself, you wouldn't tolerate you not doing that. Why are you tolerating it from other people? And if you are tolerating people not being safe because you tolerate it with yourself, then you have low standards and you don't belong being a leader. And so that's what I'm talking about. We have to get our minds wrapped around what zero tolerance is and what it isn't. We tolerate bad behavior and we shouldn't. Find a way to get this done. We will never be able to then grade contractors on their performance and get a system where all contractors are made equal and can be equal, right? And we'll never get a system with the foreman driving production with continuous improvement until we stop tolerating bad behavior. On we go.
Please join us next time in elevating the entire construction experience for workers, leaders, and companies coast to coast. If you're enjoying the show, please feel free to share with your construction colleagues and help us spread the word by rating, subscribing, and leaving a review on your preferred podcast listening platform. We really appreciate it. We'll catch you next time on the Elevate Construction Podcast.